Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Esteemed guests and chairs participants. My name is Dr. Victor Figueiredo, he, him, él, and I, together with Dr. Zulia Nirio, who isn't here with us this morning, are the co-chairs of the 2024 Latinx Connect Conference. We also serve as the interim co-directors for the Center for Ethnic Studies Research at USIS here at the University of Pittsburgh. We welcome you all to the 2024 Latinx Conference. Imaginemos juntos dialogues on thriving Latinx futures. It's with great enthusiasm and anticipation we gather today to embark on a journey of dialogue, collaboration, and envisioning for the flourishing of Latinx communities across the globe. Latinx individuals and communities are not a monolith. We are a mosaic of races, cultures, languages, histories, and experiences. As the largest pan-ethnic group in the United States, our diversity and intersecting identities is our strength. It is this diversity that sets the stage for rich and meaningful conversations. Today and throughout this conference, we come together as students, educators, community members, leaders, and political advocates to explore what it means to thrive as Latinx, Latina, Latino, Latine, Hispanic individuals at the intersection of our identities. Throughout the course of this conference, we will be exploring a variety of topics, from education and public health to the arts and history. We will challenge ourselves to imagine bold and innovative solutions that empower and support Latinx communities at local, national, and global levels. Together, we will confront the complexities of our realities and chart a path forward to a future where every Latinx individual can flourish and thrive. So as we embark on this collective journey, let us remember the power of dialogue, empathy, and solidarity. Let us honor the resilience and strength of our ancestors while envisioning a brighter tomorrow for generations to come. Together, let's imagine, let's create, build bridges towards thriving Latinx futures. Thank you for being part of this vital conversation. Thank you for being part of this conference. Let's dare to dream, let's dare to imagine, let's dare to thrive together. Bienvenidos y adelante. At this moment, now I have the distinct honor of introducing Dr. Belkis Torres, who will be introducing our welcome keynote speaker this morning, Maria Montaño. Dr. Belkis Torres is the Associate Vice Provost for Inclusive Excellence in Education, where she focuses on increasing educational equity by identifying and working toward the removal of academic and structural barriers to student persistence and completion, with an emphasis on those issues that disproportionately impact select student groups. She is also a teaching assistant professor in the Latinx and Gender Studies in the English department here at the University of Pittsburgh. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Belkis Torres.
Thank you so much, Victor, for the opportunity to join you all as we open this year's Latinx Connect conference. I'm really excited and delighted to see what we can build together, as you say. On behalf of the University of Pittsburgh's Office of the Provost and the Hispanic Latinx Professional Association, I really want to take a moment to commend Drs. Inidio and Figueiredo for their vision and leadership when curating this year's program. I'm so delighted to be here and look forward to learning from all of you over the next few days. As we know, we're in the middle of Women's History Month celebrations across the United States, where we remember icons and trailblazers in the history of this country. We recognize the courage and conviction of women who, with very little power or privilege, use their intellect and talent to advance the greater good. Recently, the Smithsonian Museum of the American Latino, for example, celebrated who they called groundbreaking Latinas, who have made a difference in their communities around the country and the world. They featured trailblazers like Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, activists and feminists like Dolores Huerta, artists like Celia Cruz and America Ferrera. And projects and programs that hold a light to the accomplishments of Latinas is increasingly important, especially if we're committed to eradicating once and for all the pervasive invisibility of Latinas across our nation. As we begin the intellectual work inspired by Latinx Connect 2024 over the next few days, Pitt also sheds light on the transformative work of local and national leaders who strive for equity and visibility for Latinas and Latinos everywhere. This morning, abrimos con broche de oro, as my Cuban family would say, meaning we are rolling out the red carpet for one of our own local Latina trailblazers here in Pittsburgh. I'm delighted to introduce Maria Montaño, who will help us imagine the future of Latinas and Latinas in our city. Ms. Montaño serves as Communications Director for Mayor Ed Gainey and is the official spokeswoman for the city of Pittsburgh. She is the first ever transgender person to serve as press secretary, communications director, and as the formal spokeswoman for the city. Maria is currently the highest ranking Latina in Pittsburgh, and we are so honored to be in her company this morning. Prior to joining the administration, she served as communications specialist with SEIU Healthcare Pennsylvania, the state's largest and fastest growing union of healthcare and hospital workers. In that role, Maria helped hospital workers across Pennsylvania form their unions. She currently serves as a commissioner on LGBTQI+ affairs with Governor Josh Shapiro, is a member of the Pittsburgh LGBTQIA+ Commission, and is a member of the Board of Trustees for Phipps Conservatory. This morning, she will offer welcome remarks and encourage us to imagine our future together. After her remarks, we are invited to join her in a Q&A session. And so as you are inspired by the concepts that she brings forward, we encourage you to drop your ideas, your questions in the chat, and we will open up a conversation after her remarks. Maria, it is a personal privilege and pleasure to welcome you to Latinx Connect. Thank you for being here. We're so looking forward to learning from you.
Thank you so much, Belkis. It's really an honor to be with you all here this morning. And good morning and buenos dias. Thank you, everyone who's joined with us here this morning. It is with great pleasure and profound honor that I join you to welcome each and every one of you to the 2024 Latinx Connect Conference. We're gathered here today to celebrate the enduring spirit and contributions of the Latinx community here, not just in Pittsburgh, but across the world. In a world where our voices are so often marginalized, we got to stand united to amplify our collective strength and perseverance. As we come together over the next couple of days, let us remain steadfast in our commitment to uplift one another and advocate for justice, opportunity, and equity for every one of us. This conference and the celebration of the Latinx excellence is where we can come together as a people to forge a path forward where every member of the Latinidad here in Pittsburgh and across the globe can thrive. Every day, we get up faced with a challenge by the mayor to think about three things and three things only: safe neighborhoods, welcoming communities, and thriving people. Safe, welcome, and thriving. That is the cornerstone of every single thing that we get up and think about and put into action here at the city of Pittsburgh, and how the mayor views our opportunity to engage in global communities and making sure that this really is a transformable city where everyone has opportunity, where everyone is safe, where every individual, no matter where they might come from, is welcome. These are lofty ambitions, and I'm proud of the fact that we've been working hard at this over the past couple of years. We've spoken a lot about safety, and it's one of the things that we hear from so many communities. We hear it from members of the Latinidad community, our immigrant community, our refugee community, our faith-based communities, our Black and Brown people every day. What does it take to help somebody feel safe and welcome here in the city of Pittsburgh? And I'm proud of the work that our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs community does every day. And last year, we had a major celebration of the global community here in Pittsburgh with our first ever International Day Parade and Festival, where over 500 people from various communities celebrated and marched through the streets of Pittsburgh, dressed in their native costumes and glory, as we came together to celebrate the global community that is here in Pittsburgh. And of course, the Latinidad was well respected in that, with our folks from Brazil dancing in the streets and our Mexican counterparts dancing alongside them. It was one of the most beautiful sights that I've had witness to here in the city of Pittsburgh. We strive to make sure that as we put plans in place that we're being welcoming to everyone who lives here and finding ways to support them. That's why language access has been a cornerstone of the work that we're doing across every department in the city of Pittsburgh. And for the first time ever, now when folks come into our city, banners are hung up in the lobby that stretch from the ceiling to nearly the floor that say welcome in every language that is spoken most predominantly here in the city of Pittsburgh. Letting folks know that no matter where you're from, this is your government. This is where you belong. This is where you can get help and support and resources, and you're welcome to exist in our community, and we support you and we love you and we celebrate you. Beyond that, we are committed to investing in our communities that have been left behind for far too long, because everybody deserves a neighborhood where they can work, where they can live, where they're not pushed out due to gentrification. And that's why affordability is key to so much of the work that we're doing around housing, and why the mayor is pushed to hold developers to ensure that as they build in our communities, they have to think about affordability and demand that in any new development that happens across our city, so that way everyone has a safe and affordable place to live. We're proud of the fact that we've been working hard to make sure that we have access to clean drinking water, because that affects our communities so desperately. For too long, the city has been plagued by lead service lines, and we all know that lead is a major health risk for so many people. And that's why we've been partnering with PWSA and using the millions of dollars that we got from the federal government to replace thousands and thousands of lead lines throughout our city. We have a lot of work that we still need to do ahead of us, and we know that we have so much more to do. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is the fact that this is a mayor who has embraced the idea and the understanding that diversity is important, but equity, inclusion, and access is what matters most, because representation can help, but representation isn't liberation. And we have so much more work ahead of us when it comes to making sure that this city is a place where everyone can thrive. We understand that there's neighborhoods that have been left behind for too long, that have been disinvested in, ignored, and that's why the mayor's made a commitment to focusing in our concerns and where we focus our work on the high and extreme needs communities that are here in Pittsburgh, using data about the people who live here to drive them, and then taking government directly to the people. We might have the wisdom on the 5th floor or in Grant Street to know what how to build a bridge or repave a street, but the knowledge about what work needs to be done in communities belongs to the people who live inside of them. That's why the mayor challenged us to come together with the City and Streets program, where we bring every department leader and director into neighborhoods across our city to bring them directly to people in a community fair style event, so people can learn about everything that the city of Pittsburgh has to offer, how to connect with our DOMI department to talk about traffic calming in your neighborhood, how to talk to HR about how to apply for one of the many jobs that is open with the city of Pittsburgh, how to learn more about our public safety bureaus, how to become a firefighter or an EMS, how to get connected to the appropriate permits to start a new business, to start or repair your home, on everything that the city has to offer. We want to bring that directly to the people as often as we can, so that way people feel and can see who is responsible for making the decisions in your government. We're also proud of the fact that for the first time in our city's history, this is the most diverse administration in the history of our city. More and more people can now see themselves reflected in their local government, and incredibly honored to have been named press secretary and communications director for the city of Pittsburgh, especially getting the opportunity to represent the Latinidad in a way that our city has never had before, to represent the trans community, the LGBTQIA+ community in such a high profile position. Of course, that doesn't come with its own unique set of challenges that many of us feel in our day-to-day lives. The challenges of being seen as less than or less than human because of where I come from and who my parents are, or because of who I love and because of the fact that I'm trans. Too many people wish us harm, wish me harm, challenge me, make jokes about my genitals, which bathroom I use. Every single day that happens, people in our community feel emboldened to believe that I don't deserve the same dignity and respect that they do. And as I think about this and I reflect upon that, it's one of those moments that makes me proud and stronger than they can ever realize. There's nothing that they could say to me that hasn't already been said. And I think about the power of my voice and what it means now. For so long, I was an activist. I was an organizer. I took to the streets demanding better. I fought for equality and access and dignity. I fought for the rights of trans community here in Pittsburgh and fought to make sure that we updated our civil rights protections to be more inclusive of trans people. For so long, it felt like I was just speaking to a wall or into a void. And I remember shortly after the Texas governor made a decision to criminalize families who do nothing more than just love their kids unconditionally, their trans children unconditionally. And I felt sort of stuck because now I represented so much more than just Marie. I represented a city. And I lamented to my friends in the community. And I said, it's really hard to be who I am right now because everything in my spirit and in my soul wanted to just scream out, to call it out for what it was. And I just felt like I had to be much more tempered in my thing since I now represented the mayor and the city in what I say. But then I had a realization when one of them told me, Maria, you have an opportunity now that so many of us wish we did. When you speak now, you have an authority and a platform that people have to listen. People will hear you now. So you might want to pop off and say something, but now when you speak, you can be thoughtful. You can speak power and hold people to account and lift up voices that deserve to be heard in a way that has never happened before. And that really changed my understanding of what it means to be where I'm at today. And one of the challenges that I see as so important in my job as I get up and think about who are the voices in our community that have been silenced for too long, that have never been allowed in the room, let alone have a seat at the table where the decisions about the future are being made. And that's why I constantly remind all of us at City Hall about the importance of where we work and what we're doing. And as we forge a path forward for our city, where we're starting out our new comprehensive plan, a plan that looks to undo the wrongs of the past poor urban plans that have harmed the city of Pittsburgh, that have harmed Black and Brown communities here in the city of Pittsburgh, that as we put this plan together where we look about and dream about what the future of Pittsburgh looks like 20, 25, 30 years from now, that we're bringing in voices from communities like ours that didn't get a chance to have a voice when those plans were made before. We're inviting communities to take part in this important work. And we want everyone to be involved. We're going to engage on one of the most robust community engagement events that the city has ever seen, because there's 90 neighborhoods, and every one of those 90 neighborhoods deserves to have a voice in what the future of our city looks like. The decisions we make today will impact the city for generations to come. So I invite you all, as we share more about how to get involved with the comprehensive plan, that you get connected to the work, that you join the meetings, that you add your voice in helping us shape what the future of our city looks like. Because it is that voice that is going to guide us and make sure that there's a future here for the Latinx community. So that way there's a future here for our kids. There's a future where our culture is celebrated and honored and respected, where our people can thrive, where there's good jobs with family-sustaining wages, that there's easier access to economic mobility, the ability to start a small business, the ability to live a life where you and your family can live here for generations to come. That is what we're getting ready to embark on with the city of Pittsburgh under the leadership of Mayor Gainey. It's going to have a profound impact on how our people can thrive in the city. It's really important for all of us to get involved. And finally, I just would like to say to everyone, be involved as you can in your local civic government. So much attention gets placed on the national scale, national elections, but so much happens here locally that will impact our lives every single day. So many of us are unaware of who our city council member is, or who our county council member is, or who our local representatives are on boards and commissions. And I encourage you all, if you want to help shape the plan for the future of the city, sign up to serve on one of our commissions. We have a variety of boards and commissions with the city that make decisions every single day, from the Gender Equity Commission that studies and finds policies on what we're doing to be more equitable for Black and brown women and trans folks and non-binary individuals here in our city, to the LGBTQIA+ Commission, to the Planning Commission, to the Zoning Board, to the Arts Commission. All of these commissions make decisions and policies and plans for the future that impact our communities directly. I urge you all to get involved in local government and speak out and use your voices to make sure that it is heard. And finally, I just want to ask that everyone continue to hold us accountable to our lofty goals and ideals. If you feel like as a city government that we are falling short of serving you, of making Pittsburgh the safest city in America for our community, the most welcoming city in America for our community, or where we're falling short in helping you have a thriving life, we want to hear from you directly. We want to know where we're falling short so that we're able to come together to work on plans to make sure that we are lifting up every single voice. I really am honored to have been with you here this morning and to share a little bit about the work that we're doing here. But I also wanted to leave plenty of time for folks to ask questions about what we can be doing as a city government to better support you, or questions about me and my own journey, about how I ended up here. I'm really honored and proud to be with you all here with this morning. And at this point in time, I'd just like to open it up to some questions for folks who might have them.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Maria Montaño, for your keynote, for just very powerful, because it's really reminding us all of how powerful our voices can be, in the midst of oppression, and how we experience oppression on different levels in our lives and the people we love. In the communities we are engaged with, our voices are just very powerful. And so I want to thank you, and I want to, as you're saying, transition to the Q&A. So, folks, you're welcome to put in chat questions. You're also welcome to unmute yourselves as well. We welcome you to unmute yourselves to share a question, ask a question, or share any comments. Yeah.
I will hop in here. Hi, Maria. My name is Abby Bonilla, and I am a dual MBA MSW student here at Pitt. Thank you so much for sharing your words today, your remarks. I joined a little bit late, so I don't know if you did speak to this. I apologize if you did. Recently, I've been studying some of the individualized neighborhood plans that the city did previously, and I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit to how those plans that are already in existence will inform the city-wide comprehensive plan.
That's a really great question, Abby. So thank you so much for bringing that up. So those individualized neighborhood plans are really, really important. But what we had found is that those patchwork pieces weren't connected to sort of any broader vision for the entire city. So one of the important tools of the comprehensive plan is creating that broader framework for those neighborhood plans to really exist and thrive in. And it really helps us set a better understanding of the importance of those individual neighborhood plans. So as we come together and we think about the future of the city as a whole, things that happen in Carrick or Homewood related to major zoning changes that need to happen, those kinds of things could only happen through sort of this comprehensive plan that we're undertaking. So instead of saying we're going to address this piecemeal for one neighborhood, we have to recognize that the systems are inherently flawed as a whole, and those impact every neighborhood. It's just like when we're looking at it from a broad systems perspective that have left every neighborhood different and set up for different success. And so they will inform that from the sense that they're not going to go away. We're still going to go do the neighborhood plan, but it's really going to help us take those plans and sort of what are the systems connected there that say this is what we're seeing across all of these disparate plans as we come together to put the full comprehensive plan together. So it really is a massive undertaking when we think about it. And the individual neighborhood plans is sort of what led us to come to an understanding that this is why we should have that comprehensive citywide plan. And this is the first time the city's undertaken that in its existence in 200 years. So it really is important that we have that broader systemic framework that we're working from as we develop and implement the neighborhood-wide plans moving forward. I hope that helped answer a little bit of your question.
Absolutely, it did. Thank you so much. I think you really emphasized utilizing what exists and to inform what you're going to do. And I know that there are other cities that have comprehensive plans. So I understand that this is going to be a huge undertaking, and I'm looking forward to see, how that community informed piece is executed as well, and encouraging people to participate, which you've already done during your time you're speaking. So thank you so much.
And we're really excited about the fact that we've brought in national experts who are leveraging local community experts and part of that robust community engagement. So it's a wide variety of folks who are involved in that. I'm most excited about One Hood being a partner in this work as one of our subcontractors to really dig deep and engage in communities that have never been involved in a process like this, especially our youth and our young adult communities who really this is what we're doing this work for.
So Maria, I wanted to chime in here as someone who's not only committed to advancing equity and access for Latinos at the university level, but also someone who works in community through the Latino Community Center to help our youth and our communities sort of understand how to navigate and how to thrive in the city of Pittsburgh. I'm wondering if you can give us some words of wisdom and advice, especially for young Latino students and their families as we engage in what's going to be an incredibly consequential political season, but one that you, I'm sure, can understand better than most, can be incredibly intimidating in terms of the rhetoric and the language around who we are, whether or not we belong in our cities, in our communities across the US. One of the things that we all are wondering about and trying to come together on is how to make sure that our families and our students feel supported, that they have the tools that they need to feel seen and safe, as you've talked about this morning. And so I'm wondering if you can just provide a little bit of insight from your perspective on the ways that we can be talking to our youth and to our families about this really important issue.
That's a really big question, right? So as all of us are deeply aware the impact of the rhetoric on our lives and the way that our lives, especially those of us who live at these intersections of being a Latina and being trans or being queer, those are one of the things that sort of deeply impacts people, and understanding that a lot of people will view our lives and our existence as an opportunity to sow fear and hate and make you really question your existence in the state or in this country. So what are the tools and the resources that we need to help folks be seen and be heard and know that they can speak up about what they're seeing and feel supported and safe doing so? So I would encourage folks to really get involved with organizations like Casa San Jose, who do fantastic work in terms of driving engagement and support around a variety of political issues that you might want to tap into. Be connected in community as a whole for folks who want to fight for similar things that you do, who believe in immigrant rights and refugee rights, who believe in LGBTQI+ rights, who believe that Black and Brown people deserve dignity in their life, that this is a city where it's not okay that if Black women just moved to another city, that they would have a better quality of life, right? So it's like, how do we find community with one another and really work in that community to impact and affect change? So that's one of the most, I think, important things, is identifying what are those areas that you're really passionate about standing up for and standing in solidarity with those communities. because it really is our collective voices that we're able to use to move and impact and direct change. It means using our collective voices to show up at City Council and offer public comment. Each and every one of us has the opportunity to raise public comment around a variety of issues facing the city or the country and have it on the record right there for the city with the media in attendance as well. It's writing letters to the editor, to your local newspapers, and using your voice to speak out about what you're seeing, about the harms being caused because of the hateful rhetoric that gets flashed around. It means, showing up on the streets when communities stand up to decide to protest. It means adding your voice to the collective voices that are standing together for a better common purpose for all of us. There's a variety of things there to do. And then if your rights are being challenged or your ability to vote is being challenged, get in touch with organizations like the ACLU to make sure that your protection is there when it comes time to cast your ballot and your vote. And really try to get involved as much as you can within those community organizations and really get involved where you can.
Thank you, Maria. I have a question as well. I'm thinking about, when I think about um, social justice and change, I think about policies, and I'm wondering, from your perspective, especially again, given political landscape and elections coming up this year, are there any particular either local or national policies that we should be paying attention to, again, for not only for ourselves as different members of our community here within Pittsburgh and outside of Pittsburgh, but faculty, students, community leaders, like policies that we should be like paying attention to learning more about, to lobby, and to call representatives about. But I just would love to hear any of your thoughts about that.
Yeah, so I'm going to take this question in a couple of different ways because I think there's so many, right? I'm actually really excited about this question because you saw me sort of perk up about it. One is very personal for me from a being a trans woman, is right now there's over 130 pieces of legislation moving in state houses across the country that seek to undermine my rights as a trans person. Some of them go as far to eliminate my ability to update the gender markers on my government issued ID. It goes as far as saying I can't use a women's bathroom in states like Florida or Utah. It goes to saying, in Texas, the Texas Attorney General is trying to subpoena healthcare records from hospital systems and healthcare systems that provide life-saving transgender affirming healthcare, right? So we feel this great pressure, and we know that as the election comes up, that those are going to start coming out from the federal government as well. So really keep an eye out for things under the guise of things like, oh, we need to protect women and girls. That's generally very dog whistle coded language for anti-trans rhetoric, and one of the tools that they use to try to convince people that this is needed legislation because they inherently view people like me and members of the trans community as predators and inherently wrong. So of course we need to protect what they believe is the most vulnerable in our society as women and girls. So keep an eye out for those kinds of legislation that is coming up, because we also know that the impact of a lot of that legislation is going to fall on cis, Black, and brown women who don't meet traditional standards for what a woman is supposed to look like in our country. And so oftentimes what we've seen in places is people getting challenged in the bathroom are Black and brown cis women, not necessarily trans women, right? So we know that those laws are already harming people who aren't trans in those communities. It's also harming our children. So kids who are Black and brown who excel at sports, parents are now saying, I bet that kid is trans, and we demand an investigation and not allow them to play sports. So there's a lot of that targeted harassment that these laws are then being used to really harm our communities broadly. And that's why it's important to think about the intersectionality of the work. Secondly is, one of the most powerful tools that people have is the ability to come together and form a union. And there's a lot of really interesting stuff happening now in regards to challenges to the National Labor Relations Board and its ability to fully function, and what that means for the rights of working people coming together to have a collective voice at work. So, if we want to end the wage gap, one of the most powerful ways to do that is by forming a union. If you want to change your working conditions and have better economic mobility, it's forming a union. So what we're seeing now is direct challenges to the bureaucracy of the federal government that gets to set policies and goals, and challenges of that in the court system right now. So there's a variety of court cases that are moving right now that seek to undermine the authority of the EPA to do environmental protection, from the NLRB, from being able to have the judicial system within the NLRB come together to make those decisions on whether or not companies have committed violations of labor law. So I think those are things that, while not direct legislation, but will have profound impact on the rights of our community to come together and organize for things like safe, clean, accessible water, for things like better wages, better healthcare. So that's a really powerful thing to be keeping an eye on, and one that a lot of folks might be thinking about, and also looking at the budgets of those agencies, right? So are those agencies getting the funding that they deserve to be able to do the work that they need to do, right? So there's giant backlogs in things related to the National Labor Relations Board because they're underfunded, right? So what does it mean to underfund the systems that are meant to help people? So funding is a really critical thing, and why budgets are so important. This is why we engage as a city in a robust community engagement around our city budget, because those are where we place our dollars, is sort of what we view as our values, right? So what are we giving money to? It's why we expanded job opportunities in our public works and put together for the first time in a long time a bridge maintenance division in the city of Pittsburgh. The city didn't have a bridge maintenance division. It's why we increased traffic calming support by over 100%, and funding for bridge maintenance and cleaning by 300%, because those are things that really impact us. So really thinking about funding and budgeting as it relates to those agencies and what that looks like, and lobbying our congresspeople for it. It might not be as exciting, but say we demand a fully funded NLRB or a fully funded EPA or whatever it is you're talking about. Like, that really is one of the most critical ways to sort of impact our ability to have a collective voice. Probably a little bit different than you were anticipating there in response to your question, but I can get a little passionate about bureaucratic funding at times.
On point. Just it really allows us to really again, for different topics that we may not be thinking about, right? It may not be currently being talked about in our classrooms or in our communities. And so thank you so much. No, that was perfect.
Yeah, and the NEA is under attack, right? Like the education system is under attack right now as well. So what does it mean to have a fully funded education department? And the holdup of nominees for high-level cabinet positions, it really hampers the ability for those bureaucratic agencies to do the work that they're empowered to do so. So I think really advocating inside of there, advocating with our elected officials to support those nominees to those critical functions is also really important.
Thank you, Maria. Any other we still have some time for additional questions in case folks have any more. Yeah, again, you're welcome to drop them in the chat or unmute yourselves. Yeah.
And I do want to give a shout out to my friend B, who sent me a direct message. Hi B, it's so good to see you.
I can follow up with another question here. So you spoke a little bit about the importance of lobbying to our representatives and going to city council. Sometimes it feels like those things are ineffective and that city council's not actually paying attention or listening to what constituents are saying. And can you just emphasize maybe the impact that has, or another example is like writing letters to your representatives or sending emails. What is the actual power that has, if you can speak to that.
So I can tell you from my perspective, when and this is the importance of doing it as sort of a collective action, right? So it really is the chorus of voices that will make our representatives sort of like, oh, there's something here that I really need to pay attention to. So we don't actually get a whole lot of residents coming to speak at city council meetings or showing up to offer public comment at the commission meetings or wherever that your voice may be needed. So when folks do show up in large numbers to speak out, that can have an impact. It isn't always successful, right? Like that is one thing to acknowledge, that just because we show up in demand doesn't necessarily mean that demand is going to be met, which means that we just need to think about what are some of the other tactics there to affect change. But I can say from my perspective that when residents email the mayor and there's multiple people speaking to the same subject, that generally does spur response from the administration, or does spur response from city council. Utilizing sometimes 311 as a means to do that as well, and organizing calls about stuff can be really helpful. But I think it really is about the collective voice of it. So utilizing both the speaking out in the council as a group, writing the letter to the newspaper on that same topic, naming your reps specifically, because there's somebody whose job it is to read and evaluate the media and see what people are talking about. So that really can drive them to think differently about what their decisions should be, and maybe even setting up a meeting with you to talk about it, or the group of folks that you've brought with you to talk about it from your perspective.
Thank you.
And it is challenging. It's hard because it can feel like you're not gaining any traction, or you're just speaking to an empty room. But I can tell you that from a staff perspective, like we definitely see that and feel that, and want to do what we can to reach out to you, back out to you, and let you know our views or our stances, or maybe set up a meeting to learn more from you. So I do think that from that perspective, it is helpful. And I often think that folks, when they think about the city government, they think about the elected officials, right? And they think about those people at the very top. But there's over 3,300 people who get up and work for the city of Pittsburgh every day. And each of those elected officials has a staff where they can also be reached and talked to. So we might be much more reachable at times than the elected officials themselves, but we also have their ear and can say, hey, this is what I'm hearing, and we also serve as advisors, right? So knowing who we are, and that's why the mayor made it important to do that City in the Streets, so people can see this is who the leadership of these department organizations are. This is how you can get a hold of them in order to talk to them about the issues that you're facing, that they might be able to address from a departmental level, not necessarily from a like introduce new legislation, but is there a policy change that we can make at an administrative level that could serve the purpose without having to pass legislation? So I think there's a couple of ways to think about that.
Thank you.
Yeah. You all are very quiet this morning.
Good morning. Buenos días, Maria.
Hi, Doreen. So good to see you.
I know I'm actually driving, so this might sound a little botchy. I apologize. But good morning, colleagues. This is so exciting for me to be a part of, and thank you, heartfelt thanks to you. I have a question. A colleague of mine who lives in Florida said, hey, in Tampa, we have a Mayor's Hispanic Advisory Council. What do you think the chances of that are for us to do something like that here in Pittsburgh?
That's a really good question. I would love to hear more about that, and learn more about what that is and what that would entail, and bring it to the mayor and the executive team for consideration. I think there's a variety of ways that we try to work within communities, but I love the fact that we're thinking about how do we grow our city and our population and making this a city where people want to move to and live in. And one of the ways that we're thinking about that is how do we recognize the reality of the globalization and what that means to grow the city. So we realize that we need to attract people here. So maybe one of the ways that we could do that is by doing something similar to what Tampa did there. So I would love to meet with you and hear more about that idea and what that might look like, to see if that is something that we could come together and really think about how we can do something like that.
That would be phenomenal. And I also welcome any of our colleagues here, to join us into starting this discussion, because this is one of the things that we struggle, I think, with a lot. And my colleague Belkis can speak to this. We can't retain our Latino amazing people at Pitt, let alone in the city.
Yeah.
So our Latinx people, our Latina people, our Hispanic people, they move away. And what sort of incentives do we need to come up with to keep them here? Well, we need to work harder to do that. And I know many of us are inspired by you being there.
Yeah.
And being open to this. Would love to have a cafecito with a few of our colleagues here. And
yeah, I would love that. And that the retention is one of the things that we get up and we think about every day, right? It's like, why are we losing so many talented people after they finish school? It is a major issue for the city that and I think part of that is understanding how do we connect our universities and our students and our professors to the broader citywide community as well. So I think that is something that we're actively thinking about, but I would love to sit down with you all and hear more about your ideas for that and see if there's a way that we could do something more collectively together with the city and with you all leading us in that work.
Mil gracias, Maria.
I would love to be part of that conversation as well, and
You're more than
that would be
welcome.
very exciting. Just thinking about what does sustainability look like, right? Not only Pitt, outside of Pitt, the city of Pittsburgh, right? For our communities here, and yeah, and so I think there's so much more conversation to be had. Of course, it's ongoing. A lot of the work for justice is ongoing. It's lifelong work. And one question that brings up for me is, I'm always thinking and dialoguing with my students as well, especially. So one of the classes I teach is social practice with diverse populations and school social work. And sometimes, really oftentimes what comes up is how do we, especially for minoritized students, what does it look like for us to continue going, to find that energy to continue doing the work, how does it look, how can we heal, find ways to heal and while still working towards justice for ourselves, but also for others. And so I wonder if you have any thoughts and things you'd like to share to us about healing community individually.
I have a lot of thoughts about this, but first I just dropped my email and phone number in the chat. So I just want to encourage anyone who might want to ask a question or think about work or get connected in any way. Don't hesitate to reach out at any time with that. So feel free to do so. This is where a couple of things. One, for me, stepping into this role, I was worried about some of this and what it means to sort of face public scrutiny in a way that my predecessors never had to in that respect, and really working on a practice that I do for myself. It's called loving kindness meditation. So really getting up each day with an intention and a focus around, I am worthy of being safe, I am worthy of being healthy, I am worthy of all of the good things that come my way in this world, and really setting that intention for myself every day. And also practice that in sort of how I go about my life. But I think the other thing that is really important here, especially for those of us who've done a lot of work in movements, it's easy to get sort of stuck or frustrated or bogged down in the fight, and feeling sort of depressed in that, is oftentimes we forget and fail to celebrate joy, right? Our existence in this world and our ability to thrive and be happy and live lives where we're leading conversations in universities or are in the room where decisions are made in city government, and we fail to recognize that, like, we deserve joy, right? We deserve to be happy. We deserve to celebrate all that we are. And I think we forget to do that a lot, because joy is being happy and joyful and living a life to the best of your ability is a radical act, right? Like, my existence in this role is a radical act. And there's people every day who get up to try to make me not successful, who get up and say, you don't deserve this position. It was just given to you because you're trans and the mayor just is a woke leftist communist or whatever they're saying that day. But the reality is, I worked my butt off to get here. I worked, really, really hard to get here. And the mayor saw in me and put trust in me that he thought I was the right person for this position and this job because of the skill set that I have. But yes, it also was important for him to understand what it means to the Latinx community, what it means to the LGBTQIA plus community to have themselves seen and reflected in their local government, because he's never had anyone that looked like him in local government before, right? So I think there's, our ability to find opportunities to celebrate joy, to be joyful, to express that loudly and authentically as best as we can, is extremely healing. And it helps provide that courage to know that you being joyful is a radical act, and it takes courage to be joyful. But it also can help fuel and heal and remind yourself that we come from a culture that should be loved and supported and celebrated. We should take every opportunity that we can to celebrate our cultures, to uplift our cultures, to share our cultures, and to be joyful in that at the same time. Joy, it's one of the most radical things that we can do.
I do have another question. Victor, go ahead. As the communications director for the city, can you speak to what efforts are in place at the city level to ensure multilingual assets and resources are available and accessible?
Yeah, so everything that we do, so we offer translation services for a variety of our stuff. So we do a lot of community groups and community meetings. So we have folks who specifically work on providing in real-time translation services. So members of various communities can be able to be involved as much as they can. So oftentimes it is offering Spanish language interpretation live in meetings. So working with our communities where that is needed to make sure that that is offered. It means offering ASL in those meetings and in those spaces as well. It means as we're putting together flyers and materials about community events, that we're getting those translated. So we're delivering those into communities in a language that's accessible to them. It means that we have language access hotlines. So if you come into City Hall, there's a sign now up when you first walk in that says welcome in a variety of languages, and says if you need language access support, you can go to this area here and somebody can help you, right? So it means that our public safety bureaus or EMS or fire or police, they have language access cards. So if there's a communications barrier, they could pull that out and they can point to the language that they speak. And then there's a language line that they can call into that allows for that translation to happen in the field at the point of need. So we've been really thoughtful about how we provide language access, because we don't want that to be a barrier for people being able to work with the local government. So this is something that we work really hard to think about and do.
Great, thank you. Do you know, I mean, this is maybe just like a rough estimate, because there's an increasing refugee population here and immigrant population here. Do you know about how many languages are maybe just specifically provided translation for available?
Oh, I might have to get back to you on that, but it's at least a dozen, if not more. And as I mentioned, I'm trying to count the banners up at City Hall because those are the ones. So I mentioned this earlier. We hung these really large banners at City Hall that say welcome in the various most commonly spoken languages in the city. And I think there is probably about 10 of those up at City Hall. So those are the most common, but the language access work that we do provides services for so much more than that. And then one of the other things that we're in the process of redeveloping our entire website. And as part of that, we want to be able to offer buttons that do language translation on the website. So that way our website is more accessible, and also for the tools that we're using in terms of filing for a permit or reserving a park shelter. Also trying to make sure that that is also accessible and translatable at that sort of point of service.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maria. Any other questions? We have time for a couple more in case anyone has any. And if I'll wait for a good 15 seconds, but if not, then I'll start to wrap up. But just
really great, engaging
That's well.
conversation. Thank you, everyone, for the very thoughtful questions. I love talking with the community, so this is a great way to have started my morning.
Well, again, from all of us here and from Latinx Connect, our team, as well as our co-sponsors and supporters, we thank you. We thank you so much, Maria, for joining us this morning, for sharing all that you shared today. And this recording will serve as just an ongoing valued resource for many people, and we'll make sure that folks know that it'll be on demand on the conference platform as well as able to be distributed. And so again, thank you so much. Please welcome. Oh yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much, everyone, for having me this morning. And again, my email, phone number are there. So if you have any questions or you have something that you want to share or talk about, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you again. And before we go, I would like to also thank our supporters and co-sponsors, and that includes the University of Pittsburgh Office for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, the Center for Race and Social Problems, the School of Social Work, the Latin American Studies Association, and the Latin American Cultural Center, as well as just many other people. And that, of course, includes Dr. Becky Torres here and Doreen Hernandez. So thank you all so much.